Now this is a Megan Racing equal length stainless steel exhaust. Today we're going to be installing exhaust header wrap. Now this is a Megan Racing equal length stainless steel exhaust header, and we're going to be installing it in our 2006 Mini Cooper S. Now the Mini exhaust manifold itself flows pretty well for most stock cars, but as you start to modify your car and you get above 210 horsepower, you may want to think about getting a higher performance header, something that flows better. The biggest issue with Mini actually isn't the flow, it's the temperature. Because of the location of the power steering pump, it is just soaked with heat coming off the exhaust manifold.
We bought an exhaust wrap kit from DEI. We got the V8 kit so that we'd have plenty of wrap, especially if this is the first time you're using wrap. Get enough for a V8 and you'll have 2 rolls, more than enough in case you make a mistake, you cut something short, or you have to do it again. And it really doesn't cost that much. Gloves are very helpful when you're working with the wrap. Make sure you don't get any splinters or anything in your fingers. It makes it a lot easier to work with. The kit includes the anchor ties that you need to tie it off in the end. It helps to have some zip ties, especially if you're working by yourself, just so that if you need to, you can cinch it up and have something to grab it. Scissors to cut it off. These for the anchor ties and the zip ties. It helps. Now before you begin, it's always a good idea to develop a game plan before you start cutting, or even before you start wrapping. Is take a look at your piece, decide what your strategy is, and think about what you can and can't wrap. Obviously the straight single pipes are really easy to wrap. As they start to come together, we need to look at the gaps and we need to think about this transition. Ideally, we'd like to wrap all the way from the flex joint to the engine block. The challenge is that this collector shape is probably too steep. So we're really going to try to see how close we can get at the start of the collector and go up. One of the things I like to do is take your wrap, triple it, and check your gaps. And you'll see where you can and can't get the wrap in. So for example, I can get the wrap in there fairly easily. If I come down to this pipe, I'm going to get most of the way in, so I may have to do a double wrap on one side. But these 2 pipes are going to be pretty problematic. When I look at that gap, there's basically no gap between these 2. So I could get a single line in here, but I'm not going to be able to continue that wrap around. So these 2 pipes are going to be wrapped together until about here, and then they'll be wrapped individually. So that's actually where I want to start. I'm going to wrap this one first, wrap from here up, then come back down, wrap these 2 together, and then finish on this pipe. And then I'll be able to wrap these 2 on the other side. I may end up wrapping a single wrap when I wrap this one, do a single wrap around all 4, and then finish on this pipe. So with that, we'll start to get started. But before you do that, before we start cutting, we need to estimate how much wrap do we need for each length of pipe. And the easiest way to do that is wrap around a pipe, get an idea of approximately how much it takes to make a single wrap, which is that much. Now I'm going to estimate, I'm going to measure that, which is, let's call it 6 inches. Now I'm going to estimate the number of wraps for each pipe, and I'll use this one as an example. So for example, I want about a 1/4 inch of overlap. So if I put my finger down 1/4 inch short for each wrap, there's 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. So we'll call it 9. 6 times 9 is 54. So it's 54 inches for a single pipe. So I will have 2 of them that will be single pipes, and I will have 2 of them that will be wrapping the collectors as well. The amount of wrap to go around the whole thing is essentially a foot. So if I add 2 feet, so if I do 54 inches times 2 and 78 inches times 2. I'll have more than enough material to wrap everything I need. Moistened. We've cut our first piece. It's about 54 inches long. It's hard to tell in this light, but there is a difference between the two sides of the wrap. There is a side that's got some stitching on it and a side that doesn't. We're going to start with the side that doesn't towards the collector and work our way that way. And that should help make for a tighter wrap. To get started, you want to fold it under at a 45-degree angle, do a loop, pull it tight. You may need to use a zip tie to hold it in place. If it seems like it's going to stay, after a couple of loops, usually it'll pull tight. So with that, cue the work music. So with the first pipe done, it's time to start on the second one. This one we're going to do a couple of wraps around both and then finish up here again. Okay, on to the third pipe. This one I can get down here pretty tight, so this will be one of my longer ones. So this piece is about 6 feet long. Three down, one to go. This last piece, it's about 10 feet long. We're going to wrap around all 4 of the collectors and then wrap all the way up here just like the other 3. And once again, see if you can find the correct edge so that the stitches go to the right. And we'll pre-wrap it and get started. Looking for any place where it looks like it's going to become unwrapped before we cover it with the coating. It's pretty even, it's pretty tight, no metal. So all that's left to do is to use the metal ties to tighten it up here at each of these locations, get rid of the plastic zip ties, and we'll put one down here as well, and we'll let it dry. So now the heat wraps had a chance to dry overnight. We heated it up with a heat gun. You can see where it started to get a little more form-fitting, and we got all the moisture out of it. Now we're gonna coat it with this high-temperature silicone coating. Looks pretty good. See all the zip ties have been painted off. These are the metal ones. These are not plastic. I think it looks really well. It came out really well. Looks really good. From the manufacturer, this ships with a cat delete. This is actually just a resonator. There's no cat in here. It's about the same size as the factory cat. Includes the bung, so if you want to run a J-tube and still try to put your O2 sensor on there and not throw a code, you can try. But we still run this car on the street in order to get to the track. So we went out and got a MagnaFlow 14-inch cat and had the same flanges welded on, and it matches the angles and location. This is a nice solution, I think. Still has the second O2 sensor, so the O2 sensor will go in here. It's a high flow cat. It's not necessarily a racing cat per se. It's a 400 cell cat, but it should flow well. It'll flow better than the stock one. So the next step then,
will be to get all this on the car, fire it up for the first time and hear what it sounds like. But that's probably still a couple of months away given everything we have to do to that car. So that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in.